Welcome back. Well, the CapEx comeback in full swing. Business investment is surging at the fastest pace since 1997. Equipment production jumping 17% year over year, powered by retroactive incentives in the president's newly signed Big Beautiful Bill. The administration hoping to boost productivity, lift blue-collar wages, and lay the groundwork for longer-term economic growth. Joining me now with more on all of this and more is the Treasury Secretary of the United States, Scott Bessent. Mr. Secretary, great to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Always good to see you.
I want to get your take on this CapEx spending boom and what's driving it. We talk so much about AI and this new pivot in terms of technology and its impact across business, as well as the president's policies to bring business and supply chains back to America. Is that what's behind the CapEx boom? How do you see things?
Maria, you know, this is a combination. It's the tariffs bringing back manufacturing to the U.S. It's the full expensing in the One Big Beautiful Bill, which I think is one of the most important things that we did. Companies can do 100% expensing for equipment, 100% expensing for factories. If you bring your factory back here, I think we had big pent-up demand. We are in the middle of this incredible AI boom that, you know, I don't know whether you want to say this is the third, fourth, fifth industrial revolution. So we're seeing the hyperscalers spend like we never have before. And I think what's really gone unheralded here is the Trump administration's emphasis on deregulation. We are making it possible to build things in America again. For years, if you wanted to build a factory, a pipeline, a transmission grid, you were held up by permitting. And President Trump has given, whether it's EPA, the Energy, Interior, a mandate that these permits should get out within a month. So America is building things again. And I tell you, this is the way that countries get rich and stay rich, is through long-term investment and productivity.
Yeah, and we should also point out that the Big Beautiful Bill made the tax cuts permanent. So, you know, it's not a short-term, phenomenon. People and companies look at that and know that this is the way for the long term. I spoke with the CEO of CoreWeave on this program last week and asked him to assess the situation today. And here's what he said. Watch this.
There has never been a cycle that I have been involved with where the power of the demand across society has been at the order of magnitude of what we're seeing here. The businesses need to get their hands on it. The scientists need to get their hands on it. The governments need to get their hands on it. There is a understanding that this technology will be the defining technology for the next stage of human development. And with that in mind, the companies around the world, and there are not that many companies that can actually build and run this equipment effectively. The demand that these companies are under is enormous, and you know it's the hyperscalers, it's a few other companies kind of that have the capacity to deliver this at scale. And one of the things that's really important for people to understand is it's scale that matters, right? Like, it's not that I can build a few computers or I can run a few computers. It's, can I run one of the 3 largest supercomputers on the planet? How quickly can I build it? How much time can I keep it up so that it doesn't break? If it does break, how quickly can I return it to a useful configuration? All of those are the questions that really drive all of the people that are populating the delivery system of this incredible compute resource.
So, Mr. Secretary, that's it in a nutshell, right? This is a new moment when you look at the impact of AI as well. How long-lasting do you expect this CapEx boom to be? Because we're wondering if we're going to see an acceleration of companies lifting guidance. We just heard from General Motors this morning, but they are not changing their guidance because they are worried about a lack of clarity on tariffs. What do you say to that?
Well, a couple of things, Maria, is that I've had the privilege of being in Pittsburgh twice in the past month, and you know, it shows both sides of this CapEx boom. On one side, I went with President Trump, and he announced the U.S. Steel, Nippon Steel deal. Nippon Steel is going to make substantial investments into the existing U.S. Steel facilities in Pittsburgh and then 3 other facilities around the country. On the other hand, I was there last Tuesday for an AI summit, and Pittsburgh is going to become an AI powerhouse because they have power, they have energy, they've got the know-how with the great universities there. So you're seeing it on both sides. Imagine that, steel and AI, and it's a very diversified building boom. We're seeing companies from all over the world want to come in. You mentioned the AstraZeneca, and I can tell you we're about to announce a rash of trade deals in the coming days, and a lot of these trade deals are going to include substantial investments in the U.S., whether it's autos, semiconductors, and pharmaceuticals.
Yeah. Well, you've said that the administration is not rushing these trade deals and that it's more about getting the terms right rather than just meeting deadlines. But we are, 10 days away from your August 1st tariff deadline. You've suggested that the president could extend the clock for countries making real progress on deals. So how hard of a deadline is that August 1st deadline for reciprocal tariffs to return with regard to China?
Well, let's break that down into the 2 pieces. First, I think August 1st is a pretty hard deadline, but what'll happen? Well, for all countries, because what I think will happen is that the tariff level will boomerang back to the reciprocal level from April 2nd. That doesn't mean we can't negotiate when the countries are at the higher level. As a matter of fact, I think President Trump may have created a pretty ingenious strategy here that, if you're working at the high level, you're actually going to work faster. Secondly, China, that deal expires on August 12th, and I'm going to be in Stockholm on Monday and Tuesday with my Chinese counterparts, and we'll be working out and what is likely an extension then. I think trade's in a very good place with China. We're going to be talking about a lot of the other things that our countries can do together. Hopefully, we can see the Chinese pull back on some of this glut of manufacturing that they're doing and concentrate on building a consumer economy. We want to speak to them about the sanctioned Russian and Iranian oil that they're buying, what they're doing to aid Russia in the Ukraine war. So I think we've actually moved to a new level with China where it's very constructive and very we're going to be able to get a lot of things done now that trade has kind of settled in at a good level.
Yeah, I think you make so many important points there ahead of this meeting that you're having in Stockholm to hopefully extend the deadline for China. What's most important to you? Because the president has used tariffs on so many levels, not just to raise revenue, but also to try to even the playing field for fair trade for America, but also some of these non-tariff barriers, like what he said in Brazil about the treatment of the former president there. What would be an ideal scenario? What do you want the Chinese Communist Party to do in order to get back or stay at these current tariff levels and get that August 12th deadline extended?
Well, again, we want them to open up. They are imbalanced right now. They're about 30% of global manufacturing and exports. That's unsustainable. And look, they've got 1.4 billion people. With very high savings rate, they have the potential for a big consumer economy. President Trump is remaking the U.S. into a manufacturing economy. If we could do that together, we do more manufacturing, they do more consumption, that would be a home run for the global economy. The other thing, Maria, that President Trump has done, and now the U.S. Senate is acknowledging, there is a lot of bipartisan support for to give President Trump extra authority against Russia on Russia sanctions we're going to see over the coming weeks. But what's important here, now the U.S. Senate agrees with President Trump that tariffs can be used as a negotiating lever.
Yeah.
So what this bill that the U.S. Senate is going to approve is likely that anyone who buys sanctioned Russian oil will be subject to a 100% tariff. And that is 100%. President Donald Trump has changed the narrative here that tariffs can be used for negotiations, away from just economics, but for world peace.
So you believe that these tariffs could actually stop China from buying sanctioned oil from Russia? That's
well,
huge.
it's not just. It's not just China, it's India.
Yeah.
I'm going to be in touch with my European counterparts. The Europeans, have talked a big game about sanctioning Russia, and it'll be very important for the Europeans to also be willing to put on these high level of secondary tariffs for sanctioned Russian oil. I'm confident that they'll do it, but we're going to have some tough discussions to make sure that it is a G7 all hands on deck, everyone's in agreement.
So will you be poised then to extend the deadline past August 1st for the EU if, in fact, you get an agreement that they will, in fact, sanction China and India for buying oil from Russia?
Those are separate negotiation tracks. There's trade, and then there's trying to end this terrible Russia-Ukraine conflict. And in terms of ending the Russia-Ukraine conflict, everyone's on board with that.
Mm-hmm. Secretary, how much revenue have you raised so far from tariffs? I know that we saw a budget surplus in the Treasury in the month of June. Last time we saw a budget surplus was President Trump's first term. Is that largely because of the tariff revenue, and how much have you raised so far this year?
Well, we're closing in on $100 billion. I think we could annualize at $300 billion. So a way to think about that is that's roughly 1% of our U.S. 30 trillion GDP. So that is a big number, Maria, and we didn't get any credit for that in the CBO scoring. I don't agree with the CBO scoring, but CBO scoring did say that there's a chance over the 10-year window we could take in $2.8 trillion of tariff revenue. And the great thing about the June number was not only was it an increase in tariff revenue, we brought down expenses. So it was a great combination: lower expenses, higher revenues. And that's how we are going to get this budget mess that we were left with under control.
Yeah, even as the CBO says, the Trump Big Beautiful Bill will add $3.4 trillion to deficits. Obviously, the tariff revenue cuts into that pretty substantially.
Well, and look, Maria, that as we talked about at the top of this segment, we're seeing this CapEx boom. The CBO scoring is static. It's no matter what you do, you raise taxes, you lower taxes, you grow at 1.8%. I think we're going to see by the fourth quarter, first quarter next year, I think we're going to see growth numbers with a 3 in front of them, and we're going to see this AI productivity boom start kicking in. So the important thing here is we're going to have high growth, but it's going to be non-inflationary.
Great point. I want to take a break and come back, ask you about the Federal Reserve. Stay right there, Secretary. We pick up the discussion right after this.